Hello everybody, Jordan Nelson here. Today we're going to be talking about my most important keyboard shortcuts for Final Cut Pro on Mac. So if you're new to Final Cut Pro or just video editing in general, and you find yourself clicking on lots of different toggles and options and dragging and moving with your mouse, that is not the most efficient way to edit. And being able to edit quickly is huge, especially as you start to grow a business or start to get more projects or have projects that are starting to pile on to one another, and you need to be able to pump those out a bit more quickly. So quick editing is just going to make your life a whole lot easier. So I hope these keyboard shortcuts will be helpful in speeding up your editing process. Now I know that there are lists online where you can just look through all the lists of keyboard shortcuts for Final Cut Pro, but those can get pretty overwhelming, and which ones are the most important, which ones will you use the most, it's hard to memorize all those shortcuts. You're for sure going to be building as you go along. You're not going to be able to memorize even all the ones I'm about to show you right away. But I think it's best to start out focusing on the ones that you're going to be using multiple times in a project. You're going to be using it over and over. There's a shortcut to create a project, but that one you're only going to be using once per project. You can just go up and click new project. That one's not as big of a deal, but which ones are really going to speed up your process because you're using them over and over in the course of a project. So I want to show you the ones that I use the most. I do primarily wedding filmmaking, but I'm going to show you an example from a tutorial that I did and go through and show you what each of these does and why it's so helpful. So let's get cracking. So we're gonna start up here with the clip that we've imported but have not yet put into the timeline. So I'm gonna show you just the difference between the different options you have to try to speed this process up. So first things first, you wanna make sure that you can skim through this. So let me go ahead and turn off the skim feature, and now you have to click to get to each point. Just click the S key and you can do that. If you wanna hear audio, you need to hit Shift S. Now as I'm skimming, if I want to pick a point that I want to put into my timeline, I can go ahead and drag with my mouse and then bring it in. Or what I found to actually be quicker, that seems pretty quick, but I found to be quicker over time as you do it over and over, is to do an in point and an out point. It's the letter I for in and the letter O for out. So let's say we have another clip, I, O, and we want to put it at the very end. You would click E, just the letter E, and it puts it at the very end. So let's say we did another clip, I, O, E. So for me, I, O, E, over and over and over when I'm going through all the clips in a wedding film, because my films are typically chronological. Now when I'm actually going into the timeline and I'm kind of moving things around, then I'll do that maybe if I don't want it completely chronological the way I shot it. But I just go I, O, E, and it just lays them all in. Skimming, I'm keeping my mouse up here, I, O, E, and you just keep going through like that. So it's really quick. Now, as you can see, I'm pretty zoomed in. I can't even see all the clips. So to zoom in and zoom out of your timeline, it's Command minus or Command plus. So you're gonna be using that quite a bit too, especially if you wanna get into a very specific edit. You need it to be perfect. You wanna zoom in like that. You just continue to hold Command and press plus. But let's say you don't want the clip to be inserted into the timeline at the very end. So let's say you want it in between these two clips. You're gonna put your playhead right there and you're gonna press W. If you want it right there, you're gonna press W. W. This is what's referred to as the playhead. And then the thing this red thing here that I'm moving is the skimmer. It will either put it at the playhead or the skimmer, but it's going to prioritize the skimmer. So wherever your skimmer is where it is going to insert the clip. So if you want it over here, it's gonna put it over there. Now you can also insert it in the middle of a clip. Watch this. It just split that clip in half and stuck it in the middle. Now let's say you wanted to overwrite a clip. So let's say you didn't want this clip, you actually want another one. So I'm gonna go in, out. I'm going to put my skimmer right there and I'm going to press D. It just overwrote that clip. What if the clip though, let's say in, out, is really short? And then if I do this, let's say I go D. It's only gonna overwrite as much of the clip as it can go over. So if it's a shorter clip, it's gonna overwrite the front part. So it did not insert itself before this clip, it overwrote this much of this clip right here. So what we learned so far, we have I, O for your in point, out point, and E if you want to put it at the end, or W if you want to insert it wherever your skimmer is, or D if you want to overwrite something. So a couple quick things too about just the cursor that you're using. So if you do go up here and you click this, these are the different options. Each of these are the different shortcuts. What I use the most are select, trim, position, and blade. I really don't use range selection a whole ton. I'm sure there's a lot of applications for it, but it's not something that I use a lot. So I mean, I use blade a ton. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom into this. And if I want to end this right where my speaking ends, you can see the audio levels there. I'm gonna press B. I'm gonna click right there. And that is going to cut my clip. Now let's say I wanted to move this clip down so that maybe I had a little bit of black space in there. Maybe I just wanted to go straight to black and then come straight out to something else. I cannot move this over because of the magnetic timeline. Final Cut Pro 10 has a magnetic timeline. How do you get around that? You need to press P, which does this, position. So as you could tell, if I did A, you have the cursor there, and if I do P, you have this type of cursor. Now the magnetic timeline is overridden and I can move that clip and it's going to create a little pseudo clip in there. And then for most everything else, I'm gonna go back to A to, kind of move these clips around. So let's go ahead and do the T trim tool. Really helpful. So let's say in between these two, I did a little too much talking, or I left too much on the end of this clip and not enough at the beginning of this clip. So I want to extend the second clip and shorten the first clip. I'm going to go ahead and do the T trim tool. I'm going to move this over, and that is going to trim that first one and then extend that second one. Or I can go the opposite way if I want the opposite effect to happen. The trim tool can also, if you are in the middle of a clip, scroll through the clip itself. So let's say maybe you did an in and out point that was maybe a little bit off. Maybe you left quite a bit of space at the beginning here. You didn't realize that you did that. You can just move it up like this and you can have the clip the way you want it. This is also really helpful if you want to be editing on the music for any reason. For like a wedding video, a lot of times because I shoot in 120 frames per second, I'm totally cool moving this side by side because I'm not really cutting or extending a whole lot because it's so slow motion, but I want the music to be edited perfectly. So I want to make sure that that music is lined up with this cut. I'll go ahead and use the trim tool for that. Now this one as well is super important, the N key, because as you can see, my playhead snaps to the edit. And if I click the N key, you can see it is no longer snapping to that point. So even if I move the playhead over, you can see it just skims right through the edit. Now if I click N and toggle that on, it's going to snap. So if you're gonna do very subtle things around edits, you're gonna need to untoggle that snapping tool with the N key so that you can kind of actually get in here and be able to, move things around, or maybe put a little blade tool and cut this out here and then delete that. So sometimes you want the snapping tool because it makes it really easier for you to put certain clips at the edit. Now let's say I have a clip on top of a clip, but I want to see what is happening underneath. I will select the clip on top and press the V key. So the V key is what turns the clip visibility on or off. So if you want to hear something even without music, if you have a music clip, so here's the music clip from the very beginning, but you want to hear it without the music, you can select the music clip and click V. And then the clip is now not visible and it is not active within your timeline. So let's say you want to add a cross dissolve to a clip, but you don't want to go over to the effects panel to go and drag it over. You can just click to where you want your playhead to be and where you want the effect to be. So it's going to be on an edit, like right here. I'm going to click Command T, and it's going to put a cross dissolve at that particular point. So that is really helpful as well if you use a lot of cross dissolves in your projects. If you use a lot of titles as well, especially just like basic default titles, you can click Control T. It is going to automatically add in a default basic title in there that's 10 seconds long, and then you can go in and edit. Instead of having to go up to your titles, go find basic and then bring it in there. I use basic most of the time. If you're going to be finding a more specialized title, then you're going to have to go up there and find that and put it into your timeline. But this is a great way if you use a lot of these titles. Okay, just two more that I use in every single project, usually a few times at least, and that is Command 5. That opens the effects tab, so I can go in and put in my LUTs, or if there's any color presets or masks or anything I'm trying to do there, that opens this up. Of course, it's really easy to just go over and click this, but if you are really quick in the keyboard and you're relying on that a lot more, you'll start to do this more. Command 5, it opens it up, and then you can go and mess around in here with whatever you need. And then last but not least is Command 6. If you're gonna be doing your color correction, that automatically opens up this window. So we were here before, And now if you hit Command 6, it pops up the color correction tab here for you. So of course, a lot of these are really easy to do with your mouse. You can go and click around, but just to be the most efficient and really quick creating your films and your videos and your tutorials and whatever projects that you're working on, this is going to speed up your workflow. These are the most basic and useful ones that I use for every single project multiple times over and over. I can just see how much quicker I've gotten at editing because I've learned these keyboard shortcuts and I'm not going around clicking and toggling all kinds of different stuff. So I hope that was helpful. Please let me know if any questions or need clarification in the comments below, or if you'd like me to maybe make a more advanced keyboard shortcut tutorial for you. If you like this video, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. I have a lot more videos like this in the channel, mostly related to wedding videography tutorials, but also video creation in general. So if you're into that, subscribing would be a phenomenal idea. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you all in the next video.